During Christmas dinner, my wife suddenly said, "You weren't supposed to find out like this. I'm in love with your brother." The whole table froze. I calmly replied, I know. And in that moment, I announced that I don't think anyone wakes up on Christmas morning expecting their entire life to collapse before dessert. But I guess betrayal doesn't really care about timing. That morning felt normal enough. Cold air, quiet house. The kind of quiet that used to mean peace but had started to feel like distance. I remember standing in the kitchen pouring coffee, knowing the truth of my marriage better than my wife ever assumed I did. I'd known for months. The signs weren't even subtle. Late nights with excuses that didn't match, hotel charges billed to the business card, text messages that weren't meant for me. The worst part wasn't discovering she was sleeping with someone else. The worst part was discovering that the someone else was my own brother. You spend your whole life believing family is the one place betrayal shouldn't come from. Turns out, betrayal follows opportunity, not loyalty. Christmas dinner had its usual setup. Big table, too much food, everyone pretending the holiday isn't stressful as hell. Parents, my brother and his wife, aunts, uncles, cousins drifting around like background noise. The house smelled like ham and nutmeg, and attention no one had words for. I sat there knowing exactly what was coming. She wasn't as unpredictable as she thought. When guilty people try to confess, they get this restless energy. They keep reheating food they aren't eating, checking their phone like they're waiting for permission to explode. And when she set her fork down with that dull clunk, I knew she'd run out of lies to hold in her throat. "I need to say something," she said, and suddenly every movement around the table froze in midair. Someone's fork stopped halfway to their mouth. My aunt paused with her napkin halfway unfolded. Even the kids went silent, sensing the tension grown-ups pretend they can hide. My wife's fingers trembled, not with remorse, but with the panic of someone about to burn down their own world. "I can't keep this inside anymore. I didn't want you finding out like this, but I'm in love with someone else." Long pause. You could feel the air thicken. "I'm in love with your brother." It felt like the universe hit a mute button. My mother made a strangled noise. My father stared as if the table had just turned into a crime scene. My brother looked like he wanted to dissolve into the carpet. His wife froze, jaw hanging open in disbelief. I took a sip of wine. Slowly, calmly. Like she just said she forgot to get Christmas napkins. "Thanks for telling me," I said. Her forehead creased in confusion. She expected rage, heartbreak, shouting, anything that let her feel important. Instead, she got indifference she didn't understand. "What?" she whispered. "Thanks," I repeated. "Appreciate the honesty. Little late, though." "What do you mean, late?" "I've known for a while," I said. "Found the texts, the hotel receipts, the whole production." The color drained from her face so quickly, you'd think someone unplugged her. My brother swallowed hard, his wife turning toward him like she didn't recognize the man beside her. "You knew?" he stammered. "Yeah," I said. Knowing gave me time to handle things properly. I reached under my chair and pulled out the folder I'd placed there earlier. Months of documentation, planning, valuations, my exit strategy from both the marriage and the business. "I'm buying you out," I said to my brother, sliding the folder across the table until it hit his wineglass. "Full valuation, 3 different appraisers. You've got your notice period per our partnership agreement." His face turned red, then purple. "This valuation is garbage," he snapped. "Way too low." "No," I said. "It's market rate for a small construction company with aging equipment and inconsistent revenue." My father slammed a hand on the table. "What the hell is happening?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Your oldest son has been sleeping with your other son's wife, also using company money to pay for hotels. Fraud. All of it's in that folder. My brother's wife stood up so fast, her chair crashed backward. You used our company's money? For her? My brother sputtered like a child caught stealing lunch money. My wife reached toward me, eyes desperate. We can fix this, she whispered. I'll end it. We'll do counseling. Better counseling. Better counseling, I repeated. The counselor we've been seeing. Yeah, she wasn't just a therapist. My lawyer recommended her. She documented every session where you lied, all submitted to the court. My wife's expression collapsed into helplessness. You filed for divorce? Last week, I said. Remember the overly friendly woman at your yoga class? Process server. My aunt gasped. My mother sobbed. My father looked like he'd aged 20 years in 10 seconds. You planned all this, my brother spat. While you two were planning what exactly? I said. Your cute little secret future. Were you hoping I'd step aside and applaud your love story? They didn't speak. Their eyes answered for them. I stood up, grabbed my coat. Merry Christmas, I said quietly. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, but this needed to end. I looked at my brother. You've got a deadline on that buyout. Then at my wife. Your things are packed, storage units in your name. Don't come back to the house. And I walked out, hands shaking, but heart steady. The next morning confirmed everything I already knew about her. She was more afraid of losing comfort than losing me. She tried her key, realized the locks had been changed, then spiraled into rage. She banged on the door until her voice cracked. You can't lock me out. I have rights. I hit the intercom. House is in my name, bought before we got married. This isn't your home. She screamed, threatened, begged. I let her unleash whatever storm she needed to. Eventually, I called the police. When they showed up, she flipped instantly into victim mode, crying, shaking. I have nowhere to go. The officer glanced at my evidence, then pointed down the street to my brother's truck. Looks like you've got somewhere. She left with him, still crying. I didn't watch them drive away. I'd watched enough disappointment. The calls started immediately. Her friends, cousins, mutual people who loved pretending they knew us. You're being cruel, they said. Everyone makes mistakes, they said. I sent the same reply every time. She had an affair with my brother for months, lied in counseling, used marital funds for hotels. I'm done being lied to. My parents called next. Dad exhausted. Mom crying. Your brother wants to negotiate the valuation, Dad said. No, I replied. There is nothing to negotiate. He can't afford to buy you out. Then he accepts my offer, or we force sale. Those are the options. This is family. He stole from our company and slept with my wife, I said. That's not family. That's betrayal with paperwork. Silence followed. Heavy, real. Mom whispered, she's telling people you were cold, distant. I laughed once, dry, empty. I'll send you the screenshots, I said. Judge for yourself. That night, I sent them everything. They never defended her again. The next storm came from my brother, showing up at a job site, angry, desperate, cornered. You're ruining my life, he yelled. No, I said. You did that yourself. He shoved me once, weakly, like a man running out of fight. The contractor stepped in, telling him to leave. But the moment that stuck with me wasn't Christmas, wasn't the doorstep meltdown, wasn't the job site conflict. It was the night he cornered me in my parents' garage. Please don't do this, he said. I can't start over. You should have thought about that before the affair, I said. He looked broken. I'm your brother. And you chose my wife, I said. So don't talk to me about loyalty. He didn't have an answer for that. When I drove home that night, I realized something. Anger wasn't driving me anymore. Clarity was. I wasn't trying to destroy them. I was just refusing to let them destroy me any further. And somewhere inside that decision, in the quiet afterward, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Relief. Real, heavy relief. The weeks that followed that Christmas dinner didn't feel like real time. They felt like a long, slow unraveling of everything people pretend family is supposed to be. I thought the explosion happened at the dinner table, but the real destruction came afterward, in the paperwork, in the silence, in the way people looked at each other knowing the truth now had no place to hide. I used to think betrayal was a single moment, a discovery, a confession, a confrontation. It's not. Betrayal is a long echo. It reverberates months after the act itself, bouncing through your life until every room in your mind sounds different. And that echo was loudest in the business. I walked into the office the day after Christmas with a kind of finality I'd never felt before. I'd been running that company with my brother for over a decade, but as I unlocked the door, I realized I no longer saw it as ours. I saw it as something I needed to reclaim from the wreckage. Papers were scattered on his desk, blueprints, invoices, a mug with a corny "Number 1 Brother" sticker on it he'd gotten from a gas station years ago. I stared at it longer than I should have, not because I felt anything sentimental, but because of the irony. That mug was a lie long before the affair ever started. Trust hadn't been broken at Christmas. It had been breaking in quiet ways I never noticed. A small lie here, a misreported receipt there, a shift in tone, a weekend that didn't line up. Infidelity doesn't start with passion. It starts with entitlement. And entitlement was something he'd been wearing like a second skin for years. The first legal meeting didn't go well for him. His lawyer tried to posture, talk about unfair valuations, manipulation, coercion. My lawyer just sat there, calm, flipping through a binder full of every documented expense, every fraudulent charge, every counseling record, every text message. When she slid the stack of evidence across the glossy table, my brother's lawyer's jaw tightened. He wasn't prepared for a client who was this sloppy. Your client, my lawyer said with the kind of politeness that's lethal, used company funds for personal affairs, breached fiduciary responsibility, violated partnership terms, and engaged in misconduct that legally justifies a forced buyout or prosecution. His lawyer shifted in his chair. My brother's face went beet red. You wouldn't press charges, he muttered. I looked him dead in the eye. I don't want you in jail, I said, but don't confuse mercy with weakness. The tension in the room thickened until it felt like we were breathing wet cement. He was cornered, and we both knew it. The meeting ended with no agreement, but also with no path for him to escape the inevitable. At home, the silence became the strange kind of peace I didn't know I needed. No pretending, no arguments, no forced optimism, just quiet. Honest quiet. Sometimes I'd sit on the couch at night, lights off, letting the reality settle without fighting it. The house felt empty, but not lonely. It was the first time in years I wasn't sharing a roof with someone who lied through her teeth while kissing me goodnight. But the storm wasn't done. Not even close. A week later, she tried again, this time through mutual friends. Suddenly, my phone was vibrating with messages that all had the same script. She's devastated. She made a mistake. You were distant. You didn't appreciate her. People always love rewriting history when it makes a messy person easier to sympathize with. I sent the same evidence to anyone who defended her. Screenshots of texts where she joked with my brother about me being boring, about me being too focused on work, about how she loved the thrill of sneaking around, the receipts, the timeline, the counseling notes. You could hear the silence through the screen when they'd read it. One even called and said, damn. She told a completely different story. I just said, yeah, she usually does. Meanwhile, my brother's wife finalized her own divorce filing. She came by the office one afternoon, papers in hand, eyes red but steady. I'm sorry, she said, for what he did, for what she did, for all of it. You didn't do anything wrong, I told her. She nodded slowly. It still changes everything. And it did. She wasn't family through blood, but she walked away with more dignity than either of them ever had. The day my brother finally broke came out of nowhere. He didn't call, didn't text. He just showed up at my house. I saw him through the ring cam before I heard the knock. He looked different, defeated, slumped shoulders, the swagger completely stripped out of him. When I opened the door, he didn't step in. He stood on the porch like he was on trial. Can we talk? He asked. I didn't invite him inside. I just stepped out and closed the door behind me. Make it quick, I said. He took a shaky breath. I can't win this, he said. My lawyer says the same thing. He says the agreement is airtight. He says the valuation is fair. He says it's better to accept the buyout. Then accept it, I replied. He looked like the words physically hurt him. It's not enough, he whispered. It won't last. You should have thought about that when you were spending company money on hotels with my wife, I said. His eyes filled with tears he didn't want to shed. Please, he said, voice cracking. I'm begging you, don't do this. I kept my voice steady. This isn't punishment, I said. This is consequence. He stared at me like he was trying to find the version of me who used to pick him up when he fell. But that version was gone. He'd killed him. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, he whispered, Fine, I'll sign. And he did. 3 days later, in a lawyer's office with fluorescent lights humming above us, he signed away his share of the business. No argument, no speech, no eye contact. Just a pen scratching against paper, ending a decade of partnership and a lifetime of brotherhood. When it was over, he walked out of the office with a check that could have changed his life if he hadn't already destroyed it, chasing something that never loved him back. And she? She tried one final performance in court. Her lawyer pushed for house equity, alimony, business valuation, anything she could grab. My lawyer dismantled every argument with surgical precision. The judge flipped through the evidence of her affair, her lies during counseling, the documented use of marital assets for her relationship with my brother. When she tried to interrupt, the judge held up a hand and said, Ma'am, you don't get rewarded for infidelity. She crumpled. She yelled about how I'd trapped her, manipulated her, ambushed her. The judge wasn't moved. Your actions caused this, he said, not his. And just like that, the divorce was finalized. No alimony, no house, no share of the business, nothing beyond her personal belongings and her car. She walked out of the courtroom looking like someone whose entire personality had just been evicted. Months passed. The business flourished without him dragging it down. I hired new managers, streamlined operations, upgraded equipment. Turns out consistency and integrity were better business partners than blood. People asked what happened to my brother. Some knew, some didn't. Most didn't ask twice. Word eventually reached me that he'd moved 2 states away, working under someone else, living quietly. A shell of who he used to be. Word about her floated around too. Retail job, small apartment, talking about growth and healing on social media, like betrayal was a mistake instead of a choice. She tried texting once from a new number. I made a mistake, she wrote. I still love you. I blocked her mid-sentence. Love isn't what she missed. Stability is. Comfort is. The version of her life where someone else carried the weight for her. That's what she grieved. The real shift didn't happen in courtrooms or job sites. It happened inside me. It happened the day I realized I didn't think about them anymore. Not with rage, not with pain, not with longing. Just nothing. They had become shadows, proof of a chapter I survived, not a story I was still living. Forgiveness never mattered. Distance did. Distance was freedom. A year after the Christmas implosion, my mom called asking if we could all get together for the holidays again. It would mean a lot, she said, voice trembling, to have the family back together. We're not getting back together, I said softly. That version of family doesn't exist anymore. She cried, but she understood. Dad understood more than he said. Your brother asks about you sometimes, he told me quietly. Cool, I replied, not out of cruelty, out of closure. The last legal motion came from her, another attempt to claim hidden assets. The judge nearly sanctioned her lawyer for filing nonsense. After that, she stopped trying. The divorce became fully final. I sold the old house eventually. Too many memories soaked into the walls. Got a smaller place closer to work. New furniture, new routine, new atmosphere. A life not built on lies someone else was hiding behind my back. These days, I'm with someone new, but slow, honest, real. She knows everything. She didn't flinch. She didn't pity. She just listened. And for the first time in years, someone looking at me didn't make me feel like I misjudged reality. People ask if I'd ever forgive them. The truth? I don't think about them enough to bother forgiving them. Forgiveness requires emotional energy. They don't have access to mine anymore. They don't get to be main characters in a story they tried to burn down. They're background noise now. Consequences in human form. But the biggest lesson wasn't about betrayal. It was about intuition, about boundaries, about trusting the discomfort that whispers before the truth screams. I ignored red flags because I believed loyalty was enough to keep people honest. It's not. Loyalty only works when everyone involved values it. Some people value opportunity more. Some people value excitement more. Some people value ego more. And some people, like my ex-wife and my brother, value themselves more than they ever valued the people who trusted them. That Christmas dinner didn't ruin my life. It revealed it. And once things are revealed, you get to rebuild. You get to choose better. You get to walk without dragging the weight of someone else's secrets behind you. And here's the quiet truth, the part no one says out loud. I didn't win. They didn't lose. We all just ended up exactly where our choices led us. And mine led me somewhere better. That's enough.